Hello and welcome to Azure Compute. Now, Azure Compute is an on-demand compute service and is used for running cloud-based applications. It provides compute resources like disks, processors, memory, networking resources, and even operating systems. The resources that are included in the compute type are available on demand, and these compute resources can typically be made available within minutes or even seconds. And you're only going to pay for the resources that you use, and you only pay for them for as long as you use them. Now, Microsoft Azure supports a pretty wide range of different compute solutions for development and testing, running applications, and even extending your data center. That being the case, the service supports things like Linux, Windows Server, SQL Server, Oracle, IBM, and even SAP. Azure also has services that can run actual virtual machines. Each of these services provides different options that will depend on your requirements. Some of the most prominent compute services include Azure Virtual Machines, VM scale sets, Azure Container Instances, Azure App Service, and Azure Functions, which is also sometimes known as serverless computing. Now, virtual machines are what they sound like. They're essentially software emulations of physical machines. They're going to include a virtual CPU, memory, storage, and networking resources, just like an actual physical server. The VMs will host an operating system, and then you can install and run your software just like you would on a physical machine. You can even use a remote desktop client, or RDP, to control the VM as if you're sitting in front of it, just like you could, again, with a physical machine. Now, when you use Azure Virtual Machines, you create and use them in the cloud. These VMs provide infrastructure as a service, and they can be used in a couple different ways. When you need total control over the operating system and the operating environment, VMs are typically what you use. Because just like a physical machine, you can customize all the software that you're running on the VM itself. This actually is really helpful when you're using, in-house or custom software that you've developed. Now, virtual machine scale sets are another Azure Compute resource. These are a resource that you can use to deploy and manage a set of identical virtual machines. So since all of the virtual machines are configured the same, a VM scale set is designed to support auto scale, and you don't have to pre-provision VMs to do it. So for this reason, it's easier to build larger scale services that target things like big compute, big data, and containerized workloads. As the demand for your service goes up, more VM instances can be added, and then as the demand goes down, VM instances can be removed. This process can be manual, it can be automated, or it can be a combination of both. Container instances, and along with that, I should mention Azure Kubernetes services as well. These are both Azure Compute services that you can use to deploy and manage containers. Now, containers are, I guess the way to explain a container is that they're lightweight, virtualized application environments. They're designed so that you can quickly create them, scale them out, and stop them dynamically. You can run multiple instances of a containerized application on a single host machine. So basically, it's just an environment to run your app, so you don't have to worry about the operating system piece. Now, with Azure App Service, you can build, deploy, and scale enterprise-grade applications, including web apps, mobile apps, and API apps that are running on any platform. This allows you to meet performance, scalability, security, and compliance requirements while using a fully managed platform to perform infrastructure maintenance. I should mention that App Service is a platform as a service offering, or PaaS offering. And then you have functions. Functions are a good choice when you are only worried about running the code for your service and not the underlying platform or infrastructure. So what that means is that functions are typically used when you need to perform work in response to an event like a REST request, or in response to a timer, or a message from another Azure service. Now, functions are only good when that work needs to be completed quickly, which means within seconds or less. So if you just want to manage the code that's running your service, functions are what you're looking at. So some things to think about here. Azure Compute is an on-demand compute service for running cloud-based applications. It provides resources like disks, processors, memory, networking components, and operating systems. The resources are available on demand, and you can typically make them available in minutes or seconds, and you only pay for the resources you use. Some of the most prominent compute resources available are VMs, VM scale sets, container instances, Azure App Service, and Azure Functions.